Opportunity Knocks by nikkiRA. Chapter 2. To say he was annoyed to end up back in his cabin would be an understatement. He was so angry he knocked a lamp off the wall, although he felt quite foolish afterwards. So he can't leave until tonight. Big fucking deal. They couldn't keep him forever. If pressed to explain why he wanted to leave, he couldn't really put into words. After 2 years, anyone you asked would have said that yeah, Nico D'Angelo was a little weird. But he had a spot in the camp that he seemed to fit in well. But there was just something deep inside him that had been stirring for a while, and he couldn't seem to quiet it, no matter what he tried. It was a voice that kept whispering to him, telling him that Nico D'Angelo was not somebody meant to stay in one place for this long. Nico D'Angelo has been wandering the shadows since he was 10 years old. It had nothing to do with being a son of Hades. It had to do with him. Plus, there was the awkward fact that yesterday he had tried to kiss Solace, who had turned very red and admitted about having to return to the infirmary and had leapt away from Nico so quickly it was like he had learned to shadow travel. That had been the final push. Nico had packed his bag, determined to leave that night, because that voice had started whispering awful things he couldn't help but agree with. Things like, what was the point of staying? Mo doesn't want you. No one wants you. The thing was, and this was the strange thing, he had been so fucking sure that Will had felt the same. Granted, Nico wasn't really the best at this stuff, half because he was him, half because he had been born in the 1930s. But that had been why he'd been so sure, because if he was picking up on it, surely it must be obvious. Jason had thought so too, and had urged Nico to talk to Piper, but Nico wasn't eager to let anyone else in on his humiliation. But fine, the gods had to fuck things up, just like always. He'll just have to ignore Will today and then set off again tonight. It'd probably be too much to expect to be able to spend the day in his cabin, not with Jason and Percy, but it shouldn't be too hard to avoid Will. Very likely, Will was probably going to be avoiding him too. There is a knock on the door. It's probably Jason. It's usually Jason. Except when it's Will. And it's probably not going to be Will. Sure enough, Jason is there when he opens the door. Sup, dude? Nico grimaces. I told you to stop hanging around Percy. Sup, dude? Nico grimaces. I told you to stop hanging around Percy so much. You're sounding more and more like a surfer every day. You never told me that, Jason replies defensively, sounding slightly offended. Nico rolls his eyes. I told you yesterday. You went to breakfast with Will yesterday. No, that was... Never mind. Jason's gotten his days mixed up, but now they've gotten on the subject of Will much sooner than he had wanted. He waits for Jason to say something, but nothing comes. He isn't sure if this is more annoying or relieving, but he decides not to push it. Percy is already at breakfast when they get there, so they take a seat next to him at the Poseidon table. Karen had gotten much laxer about the seating ever since the war with Gaia and the influence on the Romans, especially to those who were alone in their cabins. Percy is already halfway through what was probably an impressive artery clogging stack of pancakes. He nods at them around a mouthful of food. Can I be on your team for Capture the Flag? He asked once he swallowed. Annabeth is angry at me. Nico's only half listening, so all he really retains is that last part, so he rolls his eyes. What did you do now? Jason asked, looking amused. You know how me and Piper have that prank war going on, right? Well, I may have sacrificed Annabeth in the name of the greater good. How? Toilet water, he says. Jason grimaces. Nico, on the other hand, has finally clued in on what they've been saying. You did that yesterday. And why are you playing Capture the Flag again? We never do that. Both Percy and Jason are looking at him funny. Jason even goes so far to put his hand on Nico's forehead, as if checking for a fever. Are you alright? Of course I'm alright. You two are the ones acting weird. Maybe you should go to the infirmary. Nico stares at Jason in disbelief. That's not funny. I'm not trying to be funny. I think you're losing it. You know I can't go to the infirmary, he hisses. He's not too eager for Percy to hear what happened. There's something off-putting about discovering your love life with the guy you like for 4 years. There's something off-putting about discussing your love life with the guy you liked for 4 years. Why not? Jason asked, woefully ignorant. Did you and Will fight? He has the sense to lower his voice, but he is still looking at Nico in confusion. Are you serious? But instead of being angry, he's genuinely worried. Jason would never jerk him around like this. He stands up. I have to go, he says, hurrying off. Wait, Percy yells after him. What about capture the flag? I'll meet you there. He is thinking hard on the way to the infirmary. The day had started out exactly the way yesterday had, and he was starting to get really freaked out. He thinks back to what Aphrodite and Carius had said, and that whole time thing. But there's no way they would have that much control, is there? No matter what they said about qualitative moments, love and opportunity can't be strong enough to change the rules of time, could they? And even if they were, there's no way they would do it for Nico D'Angelo. He opens the door to the infirmary. There's really only one way to find out. Will is deep in conversation with one of his siblings, but he looks up when the door opens. His eyes narrow when he sees Nico. What did you do to yourself? Nice to see you too, Solace. I didn't do anything. I'm fine. Will reaches out a hand, but Nico slaps it away. I said I'm fine. I wish people would stop trying to feel my fucking forehead. But even as he's saying this, a complicated jumble of emotions is happening inside him. Because Will is acting totally normal. There's no way he could just be pretending nothing happened. Will sucked at pretending. Last year, he had picked Nico for Secret Santa, and Nico figured it out 10 minutes after the fact. That means it's still today. Or yesterday. It's still July 22nd. It's still July 22nd. Anyway. Which means he hasn't tried to kill yet. Which means he hasn't tried to kiss Will yet. He's unsure how to feel about this. On the one hand, this is great. He hasn't tried to kiss Will. Things won't be weird or awkward or anything. And now he knows Will doesn't feel the same. He'll never embarrass himself like that again. But on the other hand, he really shouldn't condone the gods meddling in his life like this. But, he thinks, as Will smiles at him, it's already happened. He might as well make the most of the situation. Are you sure you're okay? You look strangely happy. Am I not allowed to just be happy? Will makes a disbelieving noise, and Nico concedes that this is probably not the thing to say to try and convince people that he's alright. Yep, okay. I'm just excited for Capture the Flag. Will looks like he doesn't quite believe this either, but he seems to accept it, although he does narrow his eyes as if he's trying to see through Nico. He isn't entirely sure why the gods let him do this day over, and it probably isn't going to turn out as nicely as he's expecting, but he can at least try to make the most of it for now. Well, you shouldn't be, Will says savagely, especially now. Annabeth is out for blood. You've no chance against her. We'll see, he says. Big words, D'Angelo. Can you measure up? Nico opens his mouth to say something, but he shuts it. He has to stop this. He has to pull back. Will's not interested. I should go find Jason, he says, turning away. Will's face falls. Okay, see you later. Nico almost runs. So, who's in guard? Not fucking Clovis again, that's for sure. I said I was sorry. We can just set up traps. It should be someone not attracted to women. Why? Piper and Drew walked the goddamn flag out of our camp last time. Stop looking at me like that, Jason. I'm not doing it. Put Nissa on it. Nissa smirks. I'm afraid I'm slightly more susceptible to charm speak than you might think. Chiron had banned Jason's flight and Nico's shadow travel from Capture the Flag, but charm speak was still free game. Nico swears. He doesn't know why he's arguing. He's been through this. He knows how it's supposed to go down. It's probably just that he's still annoyed. None of the Ares cabin would deign to take guard duty. Most of the guys couldn't, and everyone else has set jobs. The Hephaestus cabin is set up elsewhere, doing complicated things with complicated things. Not that it was going to matter much. Piper and Drew don't get anywhere near them. The Ares cabin leads a diversion that involves a whole lot of angry yelling. The Hephaestus traps work seamlessly, and Percy and Jason sneak past the unsuspecting god, Demeter girl, really, with ease. Too much ease, actually. It's a record time, and no one on the other side, including Chiron, was happy with it. There had been talk of limiting the involvement of children of the Big Three. Fine, I'll take guard duty, but I think we should go slower. I'm talking to you two mainly, he says, looking meaningfully at Percy and Jason. Take it easy. If we went too quickly, people might start to resent us. Chiron's already limited the powers we can use. Percy pointed at him. That's why we keep you around. Gee, thanks. Can you handle guard duty on your own? Originally, he had said no, and he had dealt with a very awkward girl from the Irish cabin who kept trying to make small talk. Yeah, I'll be fine. They disperse. Nico yawns and takes a seat with his back against a tree. He wonders if he'll have changed the game now that he had told Jason and Percy to slow down. He concentrates and pulls two skeletons out of the ground. Keep watch. Don't hurt anyone. Just let me know if anyone comes. He leans his head back and closes his eyes. So the day resets, clearly. He's not really sure why. Aphrodite said she was bored. Maybe that's all there was to it. This is a false sense of security, if there ever was one. A few minutes later, he hears rustling and one of his skeletons comes back. He shifts up, drawing his sword, mentally making a note of a couple of dull rocks around him. A few moments later, Piper and Drew stroll into the area. No one knows what happened after the war. Not even the rest of the Aphrodite cabin knows. All anyone knows is that Drew and Piper had made peace, and they were a goddamn force to be reckoned with. Hello, Nico, Piper says with a smile. Drew ignores him. Where are the other guards? I'm the only one. Drew gives him a look. That's stupid. He just shrugs. Drew narrows her eyes. Why did they leave you to do it alone? Can't speak. Drew purses her lips, and Piper nods. Smart. We had a backup plan for that. Do you? That's interesting. He isn't really paying much attention to what he's saying. He's trying to distract them. Piper is standing on a rock that would take too much energy to try and move. But the ground around Drew seems easy to control, and if he concentrates... Yes, I think so. He spins around. Will Solace is perched on a tree, an arrow pointed at him, while Lou Ellen and Cecile are standing around the flag. Hey, Sunshine, Will says with a wink. Nico tells himself there's no reason for this to be awkward. Will doesn't remember Nico trying to kiss him. Probably because Nico hasn't done it yet. Not that he's going to. This would be a lot more intimidating if I had any faith in your aim, Solace. Okay, Jason and Percy have stalled enough. He could probably take all 5 of them at once. 4, really, since Drew wasn't a fighter, but he's not eager to. Especially not Llewellyn. Magic intimidates him. We'll be taking this, Llewellyn says. He still isn't sure, even after 2 years, how he feels about Llewellyn. She seems nice enough, but he's kind of afraid of her. She gives off the vibe that she can read minds, and Nico would prefer his mind unread, especially since he's half in love with her best friend. He sinks Drew, who shrieks. She poses no threat whatsoever, but every other person swings around to look, including Will, which means Nico is no longer under threat. He's not allowed to shadow travel, but he's still fast. He grabs the flag out of Llewellyn's hand, calling out for those guards he had set up. Cecile had just turned back towards him when a horn sounds. Fuck, Llewellyn mutters. Will scowls and throws an arrow at him. Get me out of here, D'Angelo, Drew shrieks. Nico rolls his eyes and sends the dirt away. Drew grabs Piper's hand to hoist herself out and glares furiously at Nico. A little dirt won't kill you, Drew. Drew gives him another angry look and storms away. Piper smiles at him. Next time, she says, before following after Drew. He picks up Will's arrow and hands it back to him, smirking at his angry look. Bullshit. Losing doesn't look good on you, Solace. Suddenly Jason and Percy come bounding into the area and whooping. Champions! Percy shouts, high-fiving him rather violently. How was guard duty? I buried Drew in dirt. I buried Drew in dirt. Jason gets a wistful look in his eyes. Wish I could have seen that. At that point, Percy notices as well. Sorry for your loss, Solace, he says, sounding not at all sorry, grinning lopsidedly at him. Will just glares. Celebrate all you want. Annabeth is still mad at you. Jason laughs, Percy pales, and Will winks at Nico, who turns red and turns away. He's just being friendly. Stop it. Stop reading into things. Suddenly feeling not at all happy about their win anymore, Nico sets off back towards camp, while Percy and Will trash talk behind him. He can feel Jason's eyes on him, but he keeps his gaze trained forward. There's a campfire that night, but he decides to skip it. The campfire had been where everything fell to shit, and he is not eager to sit there and remember all that had happened last night, / not at all. He had sat next to Will, who had sang loudly and horrendously in his ear. Nico had threatened to leave, and Will had grabbed his hand, yanked him back down with a laugh, promising he wouldn't sing anymore. After the campfire, Will had walked back to his cabin with him, and Nico had stood outside and decided that it was time, really, because he really, really wanted to, and he was tired of being scared, and he was a son of Hades, goddammit, and he fought in 2 wars, and he should not be afraid of this. So he had wrapped his fingers around Will's wrist and tried to shift closer, because he's liked Will for ages, and he was ready to try and put himself out there, to pull himself out of the shadows. But Will's eyes had widened, and he had stepped away, mumbling about work, and Nico had realized that he could never leave the shadows. Will was brightness and sunshine, too bright for the shadows that were intrinsically a part of Nico. So no, he doesn't want to go to the campfire. Not that anyone ever freaking listens to him. Jason said you weren't coming to the campfire? That was the plan. Will crosses his arms. He is wearing a sweater and jean shorts, which Nico thinks probably cancel each other out. Are you feeling sick? Nico rolls his eyes. Do you have to be head medic 24/7? Take a break, Solace, and if you try to feel my forehead again, I will cut off your hand, he warns, as Will's hand twitches upwards. I can't just turn off worrying about people, Nico. I'm fine, I was just tired. I was going to go to bed early. I'm not freaking sick, he adds, slightly louder, when Will narrows his eyes at him. Will holds his hands up. Okay, fine, just checking. Nico is very annoyed, and he really just wants Will to leave. Do you want something else? He asks, far harsher than the situation warranted. Will blinks, taking an unconscious step back. I figured you might want to hang out, if you're set on not going to the campfire. Oh, I don't. What is wrong with you? You've been acting weird all day. He really wants Will to leave. He can't stop seeing the look on his face when he had realised what Nico was trying to do. I'm fine, Will. I just want to go to bed. Will is still looking at him suspiciously, and Nico's patience is wearing thin. Fuck off, Solace, he finally snaps. The concerned look on Will's face drops and is immediately replaced with a cool look of indifference. Fine, enjoy your night of sulking. Nico watches him go, feeling foolish over his outburst. Part of him wants to go after him, but he forces himself to turn back around and head to bed, ignoring the lamp that he had knocked down. He sits down on his bed, thinking. The day had reset, meaning he had never tried to kiss Will, meaning the thing that had happened that had forced him to flee camp never happened, meaning he could stay. But on the other hand, he still had that voice in his head telling him that he isn't meant to settle down. Plus, there's the fact that he still has feelings for Will, although clearly they're unrequited. He doesn't want to leave, truthfully, but eventually he decides to take another day. Maybe he can learn to live with his feelings for Will, to push them down and ignore them. He has to at least try. He doesn't want to leave Jason or Percy if he can make it work. He shuts off the lights and goes to sleep. That was fun. Oh my god, I messed up so much there. I wanted to record another chapter, but evidently I can't read right now. I think my free daily dose of reading has run out. Well, anyway, I think this one would be... Well, I haven't got 100 yet, so I think this episode will be released along with episode 1. So I think I said before I'd release 2 episodes and then go from there. I'm actually kind of sad to be leaving Opportunity Knock. It's actually pretty interesting. Like, I don't know how long it'll be until I pick this up again. Hopefully, probably next weekend, because it's already Thursday when I'm recording it. Oh, heads up, it is currently, for me, it is the 6th of March. So, I currently have 91 subscribers. Let's see how long it takes to get to 100. Oh, I forgot what my landmark was. Landmark? Oh, God. Anyway, thanks for listening.